Time for the killing stroke.
Heidi ho everyone, cool stuff here. You wanna know what's right here? So-called overpowered weapons. If a weapon for a class could be Control-C and Control-V'd into another class, it would be the Diamondback and the Frontier Justice. Now, of course, I am obviously not the first to, heavy quotation marks, attempt to balance these weapons. However, I loved the video ideas from the likes of After Breakfast, Uncle Dane, Mr. Paladin, and Soundsmith. But after using these weapons for an extended amount of time, I think I've come to a consensus on how I think the weapons should be balanced. Of course, this is all suggestive and based on how I play TF2. You may have a differing opinion in playstyle, but without any more wasted time and panning the runtime of the video, let's delve into my scientific findings. The Diamondback and Frontier Justice work very similarly to each other. They both allow the user to gain guaranteed critical hits for doing a certain class role, such as getting sentry kills and sapping buildings or getting backstabs. That's where the similarities end, however. They both have something gimping the gun in some way, making it less effective out of their critical hit niche. I think it's important to balance these weapons around both the ability to have crits and to make it not cripple you when you don't have them. I also want to make it fair to other players, so you have to put more risk upon yourself to keep your crits. The Frontier Justice is a primary shotgun for the engineer that allows the user to gain guaranteed critical hits for getting kills on their sentry gun. A kill is worth 2 crits while an assist is only worth 1. The gun's only downside is that it has 3 shots instead of the shotgun's 6. That's about where the downsides end. The damage isn't reduced, or fewer pellets, so the only downside is a minuscule reduction of ammo. But if you think about it, that's not really a downside. Considering whoever is brave enough or boneheaded enough to chase you, all you need to do is fire off 1 or 2 shots at most to kill them. Sometimes you'll need 3, but even then, you're most likely retreating into your team. Even if 3 isn't enough, a wrench hit or a pistol will do the final, 2 damage. So, in theory, you wouldn't need more shots at all. The damage, however, isn't what angers me, it's how it's earned. As it stands in TF2, the only way for an engineer to lose revenge crits is if he dies or his sentry dies when he's dead. But even that is still too good. All the Engie has to do is just destroy his own sentry and, well, there you go. Not to mention, spy sapping your buildings can also allow the engineer time to coordinate an assault, or just destroy his building to get it over with and gain the crits instantly. Because as it stands, the Engie can let the sapper run its course and gain the crits. The coordinated assault factor is only promoted by the red tape's recorder's slow destruction rate, making it easier to gather men and push forward when the time is right. I reckon that when a spy saps the sentry, the crits are also lost when the building goes down. This pressures the engineer to be more mindful about his sentry's position and so he can run back and remove the sapper. This will also give spy another incentive to start sapping mini sentries, because as it stands, there's really no point into sapping them except just feeding the engineer's ego. So my proposed changes for the Frontier Justice are as follows. Change it so destroying your own sentry will destroy the revenge crits, and successful spy saps kill the sentry and destroy the revenge crits as well. But what do other people think about my proposed changes? Let's hear some testimonials.
The Frontier Justice is one of very few weapons to go almost completely unchanged since it came out, and that was almost 10 years ago. But, I don't really have much of a problem with the weapon the way it is. I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of changing it in some way, but I think I would put it pretty low on the priority list of weapons in TF2 that should be changed.
The Diamondback grants the spy guaranteed critical hits upon a successful backstab and a sap on an engineer's building. This is a quote-unquote overpowered weapon in most players' eyes. While I can agree to an extent, it isn't all it's cracked up to be. I can agree that the 102 damage it gives the spy is kinda bullshit, but the ambassador does the same thing but requires more skill to aim. With the Diamondback, all you gotta do is hit their body in one area or another to be rewarded with a bone-shattering 102 damage. It's at times like this where you start to wonder why the ambassador even exists in the first place. Same as the Frontier Justice, that's the only downside. All spy has to do to kill 8 out of the 9 classes is hit them twice, because crits are a special snowflake and think that damage fall-off doesn't apply to them. This differs from the Frontier Justice. This is mainly because it has multiple pellets to hit a target, while the Diamondback only has 1. I'm getting sidetracked. Look, I know why y'all wanted to see this segment. It's because you're all scrutinizing the weapon by saying,
Oh,
Spy is so overpowered. Why does he need a gun that does that much damage? Learn how to backstab, you gibbous. Go back to Walkway, you pathetic piece of baguette-eating
It's because he's fundamentally weak, you dweeb. I know, that's kind of a suggestive claim, but think about it. Spy has the health of a scout, has a lack of primarily offensive weaponry, can't be effective without his team, isn't a power class, and worst of all, he can't do his role if the enemy team is aware. Look, don't get me wrong. Shooting a poor sucker with 102 damage right as you uncloak can feel like bullshit sometimes, and in some ways it kinda is. So, I've proposed a few changes to the Diamondback that not only would nerf its intended use, which is what I said, offensive when needing to be and defensive when it needs to be, but it would also limit its abilities. I think the Diamondback should be unable to crit while disguised, it should have a negative 20% fire rate, and it should also have a negative 33% clip size, reducing its amount of ammo held in a single clip from 6 to 4. The slower firing speed would help with the fact that you can kill a fully healed heavy in under 2 seconds. That's just too fast for its own good. The reduced ammo capacity is so that it can still be used as a revolver, but is also more centered around the crit damage niche that should be used more. I feel like this will stop the Spy from going on an absolute rampage with the number of crits and large ammo pool it offers as of now. Is this a great change for the weapon as a whole?
What's up, guys? My name is Popa BB, and I'm here today to look at the changes that Cool Stuff wants to implement for the Diamondback in the hopes of making it more balanced. So we're gonna be taking a look at the chat message over here. So I'm going to be trying to change the Diamondback. Not only not nerfed its defensive, but also limit its ability. I think the Diamondback actually adding crit and size. Okay, it had a minus 20% fighting, and it's also had a minus 20% clip size. It's not analog, it's 4. So far, it's been the fact that you kill a full heavy under 2 seconds. It's faster, good. Reduced ammo capacity is so that it still uses more. Also, it's more centered on crit damage, that should be useful. I feel so stuff that's why we're going on crits, not full. It offers now. Okay, so in summary, you would like all these 3 changes to happen. Basically, no gains for the Diamondback, nothing in return for these three propositions. Okay, so you think it's that overpowered in the sense that it requires like up to 3 different nerfs? So I'm kind of so I've been playing TF2 for 1,000 hours, at least Spy, that is, right? And I don't think the Diamondback is that big of an issue in terms of balance, because not many Spy mains use this weapon. Not many Spy mains use it. You know, I see people use L'étranger, see people use Revolver and the Ambassador, but Diamondback and Enforcer, I never see people use it. So I just feel like they might just make the weapon even like more fucking unused, right? It's just so rare to see a Spy actually use this weapon. Like, honestly. Like, how many times have you seen a Spy use a Diamondback in casual, you know? So, I would agree with the 20% fire rate. You know, I think that's fair. I think that's not like pushing it too much. The unable to crit while disguised. I think that's also a pretty good implementation, because it's so annoying to get killed by a Spy with a crit like right next to you without knowing that he's got a fucking crit and he's ready to pop a cap up your ass. You know, that's a bit of an issue. But the only thing I would personally change is I would remove the 33% clip size. I feel like it's just a little bit overdone. The other 2, you know what? Fair enough, man. Fair enough for those 2. But the 33% clip size, I just think that's a little bit too much for a weapon that's not necessarily used that much. So that's all I had to say about that, ladies and gentlemen. Popa BB signing out. Bye bye.
The Diamondback it's pretty dumb. I definitely agree with the cannot crit while disguised nerf. I had the same idea myself. Though I also think the downside that you just can't fire it at all while disguised would also work as well. Either way, being able to actually see the crit boosted revolver before you get shot by it is pretty important. Though, as some people pointed out to me before, you could actually bind a key to undisguise, which would let you bypass the downside. So with either downside, I think you need a half-a-second cooldown after your disguise is lost. So for example, it would be cannot fire while disguised, or for 0.5 seconds after disguise is lost. And honestly, I would just straight up remove the crits for sapped buildings thing. I know it's what the weapon started out with, but the original Diamondback wasn't very well balanced either, and the fact that you could get up to 5 crits for killing 1 engineer in his buildings is pretty stupid. Even if it was just limited to backstabs, it would still be a good weapon, and I think that's fine.
So, do you agree with me? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I can't wait to hear your feedback on my and other people's ideas. Remember to check out my social media and Discord for any updates on my videos and check out my Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and as I always say, arrivederci.
"お前はもう死んでいる。何?"